Good afternoon, everybody. This is the real pastor, the true pastor, Pastor Devin Miller, and you are watching Financial Matters. Why? Because financials matter. And we have with us, as we have in the last 3 weeks, Mr. Carlos McConico Jr., who give us your name of your company again,
Yes,
Carlos.
sir. It is Succeed Consulting Firm. Uh,
Succeed. Okay.
yes, sir.
And this is our conclusion to the matter that we have been covering for the last week on trust, building trust. What is it all about? If you want to know the information, go to our YouTube channel that you're on and go to our live library, and you'll find under Financial Matters all of his series. And you don't want to not see it because this is something that we need to be doing. But we're going to be wrapping up. I apologize that I am like 45 minutes late, but I took a nap and I went to France, and the French, they take naps. And so I took my siesta for the afternoon, but I told my Alexa alarm clock to behave, and she did, and she didn't wake me up. So blame Alexa. This is all Alexa's fault. You always got to have a scapegoat. So we are not on TikTok because TikTok wants to act like a child. And so we are exclusively on YouTube today, and that's okay. Because again, everybody can get to our stuff. So while he's talking, I'm gonna try to pull up TikTok, and if it don't come up by the time we're done, oh well. We'll talk about it tonight on our Bible study broadcast tonight, and we'll have people to go at that time. So, Brother Carlos, how you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling great. Today's been one of those days, as you mentioned, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to go to France, so I didn't.
Not everybody can go to France, man. Not everybody can go to France. It's only the special feet people.
You know,
But yeah, man, I had to. It's just Wednesday, and it's been a long week.
it is. It
Uh,
is. That is true. And my father-in-law says to me, because he's at an age now where he don't do any more than he has to. He says, but when the nap comes, I take it.
hey,
I take
hey, it's telling your body something.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
but we are wrapping up our series that has been informative and enjoyable over these last 4 weeks, and so want to give you as much time as we talked. We're kind of on a time, but we want to get everything done um, that needs to be done to make sure that people can get in contact with you and really kind of know the how tos.
Yes.
What's the next step to get in touch with you? What do they need to know and prepare? All that good stuff so that the meeting goes clear and concise, and then we will be done with this series. So I'm gonna turn it over to you. Let me pull up your
All right.
slides. All right, there
All
you
right.
go.
So, again, I do appreciate the opportunity just to share what I've been learning and be able to hopefully impact someone's life, even if it's just one person. I've heard the story, and of course, I grew up. My father's a preacher, my mom's a teacher. I've been in church all my life, and I remember the illustration of a man that was walking down the side of a beach and was throwing starfish that had got washed up on shore back into the ocean. And of
Mm,
course, someone smarter than that guy was following behind him and noticed there are thousands of starfish that are in front of you. Why
right.
are you out here doing this? And he held up the one in his hand. He said, to this one, it makes all the difference. And he throws that one back into the ocean because he may not be able to get to everybody, but to the ones that he's able to reach, it makes all the difference in their lives. And so my prayer, my hope is that I'm able to at least share enough information that can help change someone's life, someone's generation from this day going forward. And so for those of us that are just now joining, because I know sometimes people, life happens, you may not have been able to catch all three. Of course, I definitely want to encourage you to go back and see the previous three weeks that we've been sharing information about how to set up your estate, how to set up your strategy. But for those who didn't get a chance to go back, and maybe you will later, I just want to do a brief review before we go into the what are the next steps. Okay, so
And pause right there real quick because TikTok decided to show up late to church. Um, TikTok family, God bless you. You're watching the Candid Conversation with Pastor D, and we are concluding the matter with Brother Carlos McConico on family matters on our YT channel. So if you don't want to just listen, go over to our channel, Clear Faith Christian Clear Faith Christian Ministries on YT, and you will find us there live. All right, you got it, sir.
all right, thank you so much. And so what will happen is I'm just going to do just a brief review of what we have covered this far for those that are just now joining. Let's say this is your first time finding out about Clear Faith Ministries or financial matters, or just you wanted to just know what we have been discussing. I'm going to review just a short review, okay? And then we're going to talk more about what we need to do next for those that are ready to move forward, or you want more information. I have all of that for you here just now. So again, the name of the company here is Succeed Consulting Firm. And I just want to state that we're not attorneys, or we're not all licensed as financial advisors of anything of that sort. Although I do maintain licenses, but that's with a different operation. That's for a different conversation, a different day. But as far as the information that we're going to be sharing here and proceed is there's a legal team behind everything that you see. Okay, so there is an attorney on board. There are IRS enrolled agents on board that'll help walk through every step of the process, even those that are certified notaries for all your documents. Okay, so just know that there's a team behind it. I'm just here to share information. And without further ado, we talked about what is an estate. Just as a basic definition, what an estate includes everything from cash to credit, vehicles, real estate, any type of charities that you want to set forth, retirement plans, investments. And then that last one that is vitally important is intellectual property. Information age is where we are today, and intellectual property has value. So for those that may have written a song or music, or in fact written a book, most people don't even know or not aware that a book is worth over $250,000 as a part of your estate value when you have a trust, even if you never sold one copy. So for those that are on the edge and were considering writing a book, or maybe you've got one or two that you started and you just need to finish them up, I encourage you, please go ahead and complete those assignments, because they hold monetary value even if you don't get any copies sold. All right. So again, that's what is included in an estate. And then, of course, the next question we answered is, well, what is your plan to leave your assets in the event that something happens to you? None of us are promised tomorrow, but in the event that something does take place, what plan do you have? Well, we talked about the 5 ways that you can pass down an estate. And the first being intestacy, which means you didn't have a plan. Now, by far, that's the cheapest plan, because it doesn't cost you anything to set it up. You don't have any plan at all, right? But on the back end, it is detrimental, because it leaves your family, your beneficiaries, at a loss. Okay, so we know that's not anybody on this line. So we'll move right on to the next, a will. Most people have heard of, if they have not yet set one in place, but most people have heard of a will and how you can leave your assets and how you want them designated when you pass. That includes everything from where do you want your children to go, who's going to be responsible for them, for those of us that have children under the age of 18, any other assets that are in the family. And listen, we understand family doesn't always get along, right? So having a will help mitigate some of that potential conflict in the event of your untimely demise. The other thing that we talked about, another way to transfer or pass down your estate assets would be through joint ownership. That means if you have, for example, a bank account typically it's easy to see a husband and wife in the event that something happens to one or the other, that you still have access to the funds in those accounts. What tends to happen though is if you don't have a joint account and something happens to either one of them, then those assets become frozen at the time of death. Okay. And if you try to access those funds after they've been frozen, that is a federal offense. So it is very important, especially for those that are husband and wife. Hopefully you can trust your spouse, right? Y'all can have a joint account so that in the event that something does inevitably go wrong, that your spouse may be able to access your assets. It's also beneficiary if you decide to add another person as a child, for example, one that can be trusted. Okay, but that can be a little bit more risk involved, because if that child cannot be trusted, one, they can access your account. You don't want to put someone on the account that can access it if they can't be trusted. But then in addition, let's say that person or that child gets themselves involved or wrapped up in something where they're going to be sued. All assets that have their name on it now become available for a lawsuit. And you don't want that to happen, where someone else can sue a child or other joint ownership with your account, and then end up having access to your assets. So you got to be mindful of that. So there's a little bit of caution with that one. Okay. Right. But there's still some benefits to it. Okay. And then beneficiary designations. Again, this is another positive where you're able to designate beneficiaries of said accounts, whether it's a life insurance policy. Some people may or may not be aware that life insurance proceeds are not taxable. So that means if you have, for example, someone that passed away and they had a $100,000 policy and you were the beneficiary, you don't owe any taxes on that money. Okay, that's very important. Okay, now that's for life insurance policies. That's for any investment accounts you may have, any IRAs, any qualified accounts. For those of us that have signed up for those benefits at our job, and your employer provides those benefits to you, they always ask you for a beneficiary designation. That's why, in the event that something happens, your assets will go to that person. The only delay or caution that creates is not everything has a beneficiary designation, number one, such as real estate. But then number two, even with beneficiary designations, again, those assets can be frozen until a death certificate is produced. Well, death certificates aren't produced until after someone passes, and sometimes that takes a little while, all while you are grieving the loss of that loved one. So it is good to have beneficiary designations on policies and investments and so forth, but it's also a little bit of delay there that can take place. And then ultimately, what we're talking about in this particular presentation are trusts, and particularly that of a private federal trust, which would be set up in such a way that it does not have your social security number attached to it. So it's a living entity and treated as a person that owns assets. And there are multiple benefits to that. We talked about, does every person need a trust? Well, that was a little bit of a trick question for those of you that were a part of that first presentation. It was a little bit of a trick question, but the answer is at some level, we all would want to establish a trust to maintain privacy and protection of assets as we continue to live life, and eventually we'll pass on and leave that to other beneficiaries. All right, but if you want to see the trick, you're going to have to go back and watch the first episode on that one.
Right.
All right, so now what type of trust do you need? We talked about there are 4 basic trusts, and there's a strategy behind this. Okay, the first trust, first listed here, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the first trust, but you have a business trust, a family trust, an investment trust, and a private foundation trust. Each of those trusts function differently, 2 of which would need to file a tax return. We talked about that, the business trust and the investment trust. The business trust because it takes in income, the investment trust because it takes in capital gains. Okay, so that's how they make money, and you will need to file a tax return on those. But your family and that of that private foundation, well, the private foundation takes donations. What would it be like if you had your own private foundation where you can donate and then get the tax benefits of donating to a private foundation.
Wow. So
So
that would be more like a double benefit then.
it's like there you have it, and it's
Okay.
perfectly legal. So what
Right.
happens is you can establish this. A lot of times people understand that a church, for example, is a 501c3, okay,
Hmm.
is registered according to the IRS, and any donations you make to the church tend to have tax benefits, right?
Right.
But with this private foundation, it's a 508c. It's a little bit different. It allows you to make your donations to your private foundation, and then from your foundation, you can donate from one private foundation to another nonprofit, such as a church or organization. So if you're already returning a faithful tithe and a faithful offering, for those that are my church goers, then you would just do it through one additional step so that you can get that extra benefit. All
Mm.
right. So now
Okay.
your private foundation takes in donations. That means there's no tax for that. And then your family trust takes in principal, which is money after it's already been taxed. And so you can add principal to your family trust and continue to grow that over time. So each one of these trusts take in forms of money in different tax brackets, okay, in different tax filings. Again, we'll get more into those details if you want to know more. I'm going to show you how we can have those discussions, okay? One of the things we talked about is what makes this type of trust different or unique to what's out there in the marketplace. There are 166 different types of trust. 166 different types of trust in the marketplace right now. And we're saying that you only need four, but four of the right type.
Right.
And those four are that of a private federal trust. That means number one, its jurisdiction is going to be at the federal level, not at the state level. At the state level, that's subject to whatever state laws of wherever you live. But with the federal trust, those are based on private laws, and nothing, according to the law, can come in between you and a private contract that you set up. Okay, so that becomes an advantage to you and I to be able to have those private trusts. It protects your assets from any lawyers trying to see what you have in any discovery court. Okay, here are the distinct principles here. The trust becomes irrevocable, meaning the way that it is established and is set up, it won't be changed. But because this is that of a private federal trust, you as the compliance officer have control over who's a beneficiary of the trust and what assets you add to the trust and what assets you remove from the trust. You're in total control. It's just the structure that's set up that doesn't change. The non-grantor means that you did not put up your social security number to set up this trust. Why is that important? Well, whatever liabilities you may have had, tax liens or judgments before you passed away, in the event that you have an untimely death, all of those things become trackable through your social security number. Well, if you didn't take care of things the way that you would like to have, because I assume everybody wants to take care of their responsibility, okay, before you pass, then at the time of death, before any assets are passed along, anything that's owed or outstanding must be satisfied first. And that process is called probate. Okay. But with a non grantor trust, your social is not tied to these assets. These assets are in their own separate EIN number. Okay. And then we talked about complex and simple provisions of the trust. Complex allows you to be able to have discretion. You can choose and decide how you want funds to be handled inside the trust, assets to be handled inside of the trust. How do you want, if you want to defer taxes, you have that option because of the laws that exist from IRS Code 643 that says you can defer capital gains. You have that discretion. You make that decision as the compliance officer.
Right.
But then it also has simple provisions as well. Okay, so it goes exactly by what is stated there. That discretionary authority I just mentioned to you gives you the ability to choose. Not only do you get the ability to choose how assets are handled, you also get to choose and have discretion over beneficiaries and how funds are received or taken care of for them. And then ultimately, it has a spendthrift clause. Most people have never heard of a spendthrift. In fact, I challenge anyone to ask their CPA, their attorneys, right? or their financial advisors. If you've ever heard of a spendthrift, don't tell them what it is. Just ask.
Right.
And let's see what they tell you. Okay, I'd love to hear their feedback. Okay, and then of course the different positions we covered in this particular trust is the compliance officer. That's the most powerful. You make all of the decisions. The trustee handles all of the assets, investments, and banking decisions. But again, when you establish these trusts, you will have those two positions initially. But once it's established, the accounts are set up, then you resign as a trustee, and then you can become a beneficiary, because you cannot be a beneficiary and a trustee at the same time. All right. So we talked about the benefits of that. Okay. The other thing that we covered again, we went a little bit more in depth to Social Security and the history of why that was set up, and that was basically a way to track your income and to take money from those of us that are employed and working, and to go back and fund the government. So unfortunately, they have a way of tracking that, and that Social Security number can track everything from student loans, car notes, you name it. It tracks every job you've ever worked at, all the income you've ever made. What we thought was, something that we had to do, and understand, by all means, I have a Social Security number too, right? We sign up for those from birth. But once you understand how they're able to track everything through the social, then at some point you want to transition to things that are no longer in your social, so that those assets can be protected and then ultimately passed down for the next generations. All right.
Pause right there. TikTok family, you're wondering why I'm just sitting here, because we are listening to a presentation by Brother Carlos McConico Jr. On how to establish trust, that has been part of a series that we've been doing for the last 3 weeks. This is the fourth week, so pretty much the month of August. We've been doing it, and we've been doing it on YouTube. So if you want to watch the presentation, come over to Clear Faith Christian Ministries on YouTube, and we are live there as well. But you're just hearing the audio on TikTok right now. So that's what we're doing. Oh, Deidre, how you doing? Prophetess. Okay. Congratulations on the elevation. Always knew it was in you. You finally caught up to it. So that's a good thing. So come on over to YouTube, Clear Faith Christian Ministries, and you'll be able to see the presentation. Otherwise, you can only hear the presentation. All right. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Thank you again, just for letting everybody know where to catch up with the information. And so we did. We had a very in-depth discussion that particular day. That was last week. We talked about different tax brackets and how things are changed. If you make a little bit over the threshold, you can have some big impact on your income taxes that are due, and that you end up paying. And we also talked about, of course, the individuals were never meant to be taxed, okay, originally. But the corporation of you has a Social Security number, and that corporation can be taxed. So now your corporation needs to be able to be taxed, but the flesh and blood of you better pay it, or your flesh and blood will not be where you want to be. Okay. So that's how the Social Security system works. There's a lot more into that we talked about. Again, you're welcome to review last week's session. And then we also talked about the strategy. Okay. We talked about how do we put all these things together. We talked about setting up, depending on your current situation, either your W-2 income or 1099 income, doesn't matter. We're able to work with either and show you how this particular strategy can benefit you. Of course, for those that are in business, they have multiple businesses, then we encourage you to also, as in addition to setting up your business income under the S corporation tax filing status, then you also want to set up a second S corporation as a capital holding company for any other businesses that you may have, and set them up as partnerships with your capital holding company. The reason for doing that is because each business, based on the tax brackets that we covered last week, you could be, if you're profitable in your business, be taxed up to 37% at the max. But if you have partnerships that are set up through the capital holding company, then your taxes would be a different form of taxes, which are distribution taxes instead of income taxes. and distribution taxes are limited to 20% as opposed to 37, 37, 37, depending on how many businesses that you have set up. And as you can see on the visual, for those who can't see, we do have a line across, a horizontal line across the page. Everything that is in your business life is in the public, okay? That is connected through your social, because you cannot set up a business without backing it. But everything below that line is that of your private life. And that's where you use the trust strategy and set up the four types of trust we were talking about: the business trust, the investment trust, family trust, and the private foundation. Okay. And then the next thing is that spendthrift clause. We talked about how, according to 1976, the spendthrift clause was created by Mitt Romney due to the fact that he had a disabled child that needed to be cared for. And if you have a child that's disabled, they become adults that may or may not be able to work and pay taxes. And so it doesn't make sense that if a child or an adult is not able to work, then they shouldn't be required to pay taxes. Well, this clause was created for that purpose. So when we talk about go ask your CPA, go ask your attorney, go ask your financial advisor about the spendthrift. If they can't tell you exactly what it is, that means they don't know what it is. Okay. And if they don't know what it is, they definitely can't offer it for you. All right. So what the spendthrift clause allows you to do is to get 100% deduction, tax deduction on travel, home expenses. Well, travel as long as you go to a museum. I think I mentioned that. You want to make sure you go to a museum, okay? Because then it became deemed as an educational expense, okay? Then you got home expenses. If you need to take care of your home, new roof, new AC. Here in Texas, it gets hot, right? You need those things, tax deduction. Vehicle and gas, maintenance, all of those things become tax deductible. Your medical expenses can be astronomical, tax deductible. Any contributions, as we talked about, instead of a percentage of your contributions being tax deductible, 100% of your contributions are tax deductible when you have a spendthrift clause. The education, we talked about private education. Now, I don't know if there are any teachers or educators on the line, but for those of us parents that know our education system is not the same as what I grew up with, okay? And I'll just say it like that. We chose to homeschool our children. Well, any expenses associated with education, whether it's private school, homeschool, music lessons, or even sports programs, all tax deductible under education expenses. We're talking about room and board at college, tuition, tax deductible. Very, very important. Wellness program. What does wellness include? That's your meals. That's your nutrition, your gym memberships. Anything to do with your wellness, any doctor's visit or chiropractic, right? Those things are going to be things that you get to deduct 100%. Either it's going to be medical or part of your wellness program. Supplements, right? Vitamins, supplements, all that's part of your wellness. Some of us choose the natural way to do things. You know, we don't even like taking the Tylenol. I understand. Right. Supplements are covered, okay? Your interest on credit cards, your telephone bills, life insurance premiums. This is another one because I come with the life insurance industry. I still maintain those licenses. It is hard to get someone to sometimes see the value of paying premiums every month for a life insurance policy that I may never see the benefit of because it's only for beneficiaries. But if you knew that your life insurance premiums were tax deductible, then you can leave your family a lot more knowing that it's going to be given back to you at the end of the tax year. In other words, you're rewarded for doing things to protect your family.
Right.
Banking, credit cards, we talked about those, and then postage, right? And then, so we put up some examples. And again, I know my math might have had one or two numbers off. You know, thank you, Pastor Miller, for helping me notice those things. But overall, when we look at the average American cost, this is what is spent. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to have medical catastrophic events every year. It doesn't mean that you're going to travel, out of the country every year. You could, right? It doesn't mean that you're going to have a new roof put on the house every year. But these are just examples of the average cost. And again, what that is added up to over time. This basic presentation was about these points right here. We want to put you in a position where you own nothing, but you control everything. And that is by separating yourself and your assets, but you still have access to them because you own the trust behind it. This gives you asset protection. This gives you the maximum of the privacy. No one knows who owns what. It's not in your name. Avoid probate. That is the biggest one because estate taxes, generation skipping taxes are very real and very expensive. Most people don't realize that probate can cost up to 33% of your estate. 33%, that's one third.
Right.
You may not have known that. But then watch this. Depending on the amount of assets you have, your lawyers can take up to 33%. So then you got lawyers and court fees on top of the probate process. So you have no idea. These are astronomical things that happen to real people like you and I going through the probate process. So many assets are lost during that time. You avoid double taxation. We talked about those for those business owners using this strategy. Avoid double taxation. Avoid frivolous lawsuits. You can avoid a lot of lawsuits when you don't know anything. People can they can try, but you don't have anything that they can sue you for.
Right.
It's not in your name.
Mhm.
Optimize your taxable income, still qualify for Medicaid benefits. We talked about the healthcare benefits and being able to have state benefits at a time in your life when you need them most, right? Because you don't own anything, you can still qualify. You meet the requirements. Become a lender, not the borrower. Again, another business strategy that's a part of the trust process. But ultimately, what you want to be able to do is build generational wealth for your family, create a legacy. So, what does it take to build this trust strategy for your family? Well, it's going to take a little bit. It takes, I told you before, it takes our legal team. You're going to have an attorney. We have one on staff. She's on retainer. Is you're going to need an IRS enrolled agent. Okay. Now, we could just use a CPA, but then we'd be limited to whatever state we're in. But with an IRS enrolled agent, we can help anyone. Our attorney's licensed in DC, again at the federal level. And then we have a public notary that is able to step off all of your documents. It takes a full legal team to be able to put these trusts in place for you and your family. Now, just so you're aware, it's about a 30-day process. I want to mention that. It's about a 30-day process from the time you get set up, get started. There's 7 steps that you need to complete. Now, I can't go through all of them at this time because I don't have them memorized. But I know a part of the process is creating the names of the trust, and you want a name that cannot be easily connected to you. Okay, so my name is Carlos. I'm not going to put the name of my trust as Carlos McConico's trust. That would be defeating the purpose. Okay, so you don't want to do that. I know there's going to be a point where you're going to set up bank accounts, set up your mailing address at the post office. They're going to be transfer of all the assets. Okay, there's a process to do all of that, and we have someone that will walk you through every step of the process. My job is just to get you the information and then connect you with our legal team. Okay, so what's included? What will you receive? Number one, you receive the entire estate. This is 7 components, okay, that include the S corporation. We talked about establishing that. We talked about the capital holding company for those that need to set up their capital holding company. You got a family trust, the business trust, investment trust, and the private foundation, and then any other personal assets that you may have will be included in your entire estate. You get the estate package. Then, as I've mentioned and I've referenced many times before, I may have said this previously, that just because you have a vehicle and a driver's license, again, we live in Texas, doesn't mean you know how to drive. So even
Yeah.
get everything set up, and we want you to. We want to be able to help you through that process. But understand, there's no way we're going to be able to give you everything at one time. It's just not possible. But thankfully, we have that answer for that. We have 52 weeks of trust training. And as I mentioned before, my mother is a teacher. So she loves learning. And the way that we have our classes set up, they have question and answers, quizzes. There's a lot of interaction. It's like a class because we want to be able to provide an environment for learning. Okay, so that's 52 weeks. Every week on Tuesday, you can plug into our trust training once you become a client. Then, of course, you got financial consultation directly from our CEO, Russell Thompson. Now, he's the guy had 20 years of study that went into research and putting this whole team together, put the whole package together. And anytime you get with him, now he's very matter of fact kind of guy. I have a few words, I mentioned my dad's a preacher, my mom's a teacher. Russell has that same heart, but he is very matter of fact. So he's going to give you direct answers, and he spits them off so fast. Sometimes you have to ask him twice because he understands this so well. It's amazing. I'm fortunate to get that time with him. Of course, being part of the team, and of course having our own established, set up our own estate. So you have direct access to the professionals that are partnered with our team. We have a whole team of partners, of professionals. As I mentioned, I do maintain the insurance and investment license. So, of course, I can help with answers of questions regarding those type of things. An appointment with our IRS enrolled agent. Once again, any tax questions, they're available for that. They have a whole team with the tax, tax planning and tax filing processes. Then, of course, the attorney. And then, of course, there's 7 ways. We didn't even get to talk about this. We talked about the 4 types of ways that the funds come into your trust, but there are 7 different ways. We got a whole different class on how you can make more and more money with your trust once you have them set up to create more generational wealth for your family.
Now, do you have a few examples of what those are?
That's what we normally offer to our clients. And I have to be honest with that. That is proprietary information.
Gotcha. Okay.
Of course. The main thing we want to do is get you at least some strategies and some ideas, get you set up, and then a part of that trust training, you'll get to learn those things. That's a great question, though, because I asked the same thing. One of them, I'll go ahead and sneak one. You know what, Dr. Pastor Miller, you've been too good to me. Let me at least give you one way, okay? Because I don't want to leave it hanging. So one of the ways that I know we have is what's called affiliate marketing or affiliate business. Any referrals, you can get to be a partner with us, okay? And so that is one of those ways. And that's probably the easiest way to get started, making some money. And then, of course, any investments, we're going to get into all that. It's a lot. But the affiliate is probably the best way. In other words, go tell somebody.
Right.
Go invite somebody. And then, of course, there's a benefit to you for doing so.
Right.
Now, how do you want to get in touch with me? This is what we're going to be offering that's right. We can't put the link in there just yet.
I did put the link. I typed it in the chat.
Okay.
So but give audibly your connect.
Well, I will do that. Let me skip over one, and I just kind of created one really quickly so everybody can have that information.
Right.
Again, this is information from a different presentation on some of the things I also do. Okay, right. with the investments and additional services. But what you're looking for is that Calendly link is probably going to be the number one way to get in touch with me. It is at no cost to you. Consultations is free to talk, you guys. Please take advantage of that. I have all of my consultations set up for 1 hour so that you don't have to feel any rushed, any pressure. You can take your time. And if you need more than one consultation, that's what I'm here for. Okay, I am here to provide information, education, and there's no charge to that. Okay, so that Calendly link is probably number one, and then number 2 would be either call or text that's my cell number. Okay, so call or text my cell is probably going to be the second best option. Okay,
and that number for you guys is 817-526 1139. Again, 817-526-1139. Or you can catch him at Carlos McConico Jr. at yahoo.com. He's probably one of the few brothers that still uses Yahoo. But anyway, we won't hold that against him. But it's Carlos, CarlosMcConicojr at yahoo.com. But again, to catch the whole presentation, just go over to our YouTube channel, Clear Faith Christian Ministry, and all four of the series, including this one, is in our live library under Financial Matters. Okay, and so you'll have all this information and he does have a slide with all of his connects on that presentation as well. All right, go ahead, sir.
All right. And the last thing is I want to invite you to a live event we're going to be doing. You should be, for those of us that are in the DeSoto, Dallas area, we're going to be doing a live workshop. And these are our two CEOs that you see here. This is Russell Thompson and John Washington. And of course, everything that I just covered in the last 4 weeks, they're going to do in like a 2-day intensive where you're going to get all your questions answered. Of course, you're going to be able to, have one-on-one consultations. That is an event you do not want to miss. Okay, so there is the cost there for that event. Again, you can talk to me for free, but these guys, they're worth every dollar you pay. Okay. But with that being said, I do have a slight promotion that I want to put in there. When you use that Calendly link, I just want you to put the words Clear Faith behind your name, and I got a free ticket for you. At least the first 10 people can come to this event for free. I'm going to do that favor for you guys. Again, Pastor Miller, you've been amazing. I just wanted to do something to reach out to people. So again, when you go to schedule that one-on-one consultation, put Clear Faith in right behind your name. And that way I'll know you got the information from this ministry podcast. And then we'll do something for you. We'll provide that free opportunity for you to come to that live event.
Okay. Pastor, see the benefits of being a part of Clear Faith? That's why my TikTokers, you want to be a part of this ministry. I'm telling you, we just don't talk the word, we walk the word. And so we're like American Express. Membership has its privileges. All right. You want to be a subscriber, and that's all it takes to be a part of Clear Faith is to be a subscriber. And these are the things that you get. I'm not saying everybody does it, but he did it. And you have to be in Texas now. We got one faithful that's watching, but she's in Minnesota, I think, still. But do you do Zoom calls?
Yes, I can do a Zoom. So for any individuals that are not in the state of Texas, you absolutely still want to be able to do the one-on-one consultations because once again, we covered a whole gamut of information, but your specific situation may need some different attention. Okay, and so I do make myself available. That Calendly link will have access to all of my my scheduling. You'll go to the private consultation there. That's what you want to look for. Okay, that'll do it. I'll sit with anybody.
Okay, so again, you don't have the Calendly link. You'll have to get that by going to the slide or going to the YouTube channel. And this will be on rebroadcast as soon as we get done. So it's being in our library under financial matters on this date, which is 8/20/2025. And all the information is there. But I wanted to make sure, at least audibly, that you could hear it because, again, faith comes by hearing and hearing the word of God, and everything that is tied to a person who is a believer is giving you the word, even though it may not be the thee, thus, thou, and though. It is still word that can help you grow, and that is really what the word of God is all about. So again, his number is 817-526.
That's right.
1139. Give him a call, and then let him know that you came through Clear Faith, and he still might have something for you. I don't know what he got. This man is a wealth of stuff, so he may have something for you. But we want to get this information out. Share this information with those that you know. Of course, this is live, but again, let them know that Clear Faith Christian Ministries is more than just the word. It's the practicality of living it, and part of that is being good stewards of the resources that God gives us. And so, take the number down. Call this man. He is there for you. He's a believer. He told you his daddy was a preacher, and he's running from his. He's doing his preaching this way. This is how he preaches, because all of us are ministers. Yeah. So we all carry the title. But go back to our YouTube channel. Go back 3 weeks. get all this information. It's a wealth of information that you get for free. Okay, just so that you can get started to pave the future, not just for you now, but for your generations to come financially. And so that's why we do what we do on Wednesdays with financial matters. Okay, any closing thoughts, Carlos?
No, you did an excellent job once again. I like your joke about the ministry there, but I do consider this the gospel of finance. Okay,
That's
so
it.
the gospel
That's
of
it.
finance. So, no, thank you so much. You've been wonderful. And again, anyone that comes through Clear Faith Ministries, we do have something additional for you. I appreciate that.
Yep. So this is again Carlos McConico with Succeed Consulting Firm. We've been covering the whole idea of trust and developing trust. And let me say this, and then we're gonna get up out the way. For those of us who don't have a lot, but we have a lot connected to us, this is something that's important. One of the things we always push in the Black community is home ownership. But when you get to this age of 60, 70, 80 years old, and you still got that home house, that everybody grew up in, the house is paid for, what happens to that house when you're getting ready to go? It goes back to the state. And they do whatever they want to do with it. And your blood, sweat, and tears went into that house. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about if you have parents or even yourself that are getting into investments and things like that, and you have children or you have family members, and you want to stay away from probate. This is the way to go. This is how the cousins do it. Okay, you want to know how the cousins do it? This is how they do it. In one of the slides a couple of weeks ago, we talked about who started this. He talked about Mitt Romney, and Mitt Romney did it for his child that was physically challenged. Donald Trump has all these things. You want to know how he gets away with all the craziness? Because he got trust. And so you can't get to him, And then what was it, Warren Buffett?
So the Joseph Kennedy, one that came up with the Dynasty Trust.
Right. Do you know how dynasties start? That's why you don't have no Black folks talking about they got a dynasty, because we don't do this.
That's right.
We got a few rich folks in our families, but then they keep their money, and then their money go away to probate when they die. And I know a lot of folks don't like to talk about death while they living, but hey, death is a part of life. Okay. And so we want to get you this information. I'm really pushing, for us to do this. Carlos and I are going to talk about what we're doing. I don't have anything to do it with yet, but it's coming. I'm calling on it. It's coming. And so I want my boys and all my kids to be taken care of in the sense of being okay. I'm not trying to make them rich, but it's to keep the legacy going of financial literacy and financial awareness. And so that's what we're doing. There's too much money out here that's being made by us. You can look at on TikTok, all these content creators and all these folks on YouTube, doing all these videos and things like that, and you getting all this money now. What you gonna do with it?
Right.
What you gonna do with it? You can't buy all the cars, you can't buy all the houses. Okay, you can't keep putting money in a shoebox and putting it in mama's and grandmama's attic. You can't keep doing that. That's what we used to do back in the day. But we don't do that no more, because we now have that shoebox called a trust that we can put it in, and it will generate for us. And if nothing else, look, when you watch the video from last week that talked about all those things you can write off, I almost wanted to go get them so I could write them off, because we used to do it as church folk, as preachers. We always knew we could get write-offs, and every time we say Jesus 3 times, we put it on the receipt. This was a ministry. I'm probably saying too much. Some preachers might be still doing it, but but that's what we did, because it was a tax break. Ministry is a tax break. But now we have something a little more legit that will help us, pass something down to our children and our children instead of passing debt. We can pass a legacy, a financial legacy, again, not to get rich, but to maintain our status,
You
so
know,
that we don't have to go do GoFundMe's and all this kind of stuff when our time comes. So,
Pastor,
Carlos,
you
go ahead.
said something else that was just real key, and I hate to prolong the end here. I know we're going to part ways, but you just said something that was very, very key. Not only when you have your trust set up this way, remember through that private foundation, your trust can still contribute to your church ministry even after you're gone because you
Wow.
set it up in place. So you're going to give to the church while you're here, but even after you're gone, it can be a legacy of continuing to give to the church. And
Right.
even over the years, next 4 generations, that's the key. That's
That's it.
important.
That's it. And because y'all can't see him, I'm letting y'all know he black. Okay. I told him we take care of family first, cousins later. All right. So this is for us, by us, with us.
Yes.
And I am a strong proponent of supporting black businesses. And so it's important that we do this now. Our next series is going to start in about 2 weeks after Labor Day, because we're too close to the holiday, and I don't want to break it up because we like to do it in succession, so that they're all together. So I'm gonna tell you how God works real quick, and then we're gonna get out of here. I didn't know who I was going to bring on next after Carlos, because it's usually people come to me and they want to do this stuff, and I didn't have anybody come to me. So yesterday, in my time of prayer, I was just talking to God. I said, "Man, I need somebody for next month to do the show." And a brother on Alignable, which is another one of those business engines that I'm on. I don't know how many I'm on. My name just show up. But he reached out to me and wanted to talk to me. And typically, when that happens, if I didn't reach out to you and you reached out to me, that's a God moment. Just so y'all know when those things happen. When you get these friend requests, like on LinkedIn and Alignable and all of that, if you didn't initiate and someone's looking for you, that's a God moment. And it's important to go and follow it up. Now, nothing may come of it, but just be obedient, because God may be saying you need to talk to that person. So anyway, that's what happened. And it was a guy that was in finance. And I said, "You're my answer." I said, "So September, you got 4 weeks to show me what you do after you show it to me." Because he's one of our close cousins. Okay, he ain't our cousin, but he's a close cousin. He's Mexican. So I'm bringing him on because y'all know me though. The person that's on here, Deidre, knows how I am. I am unashamedly black. You see the pictures on the wall,
Yes.
and so I am unashamedly black. And I bring on folks to help us first. And so I'm going to be bringing him on. His name is Gaston Garcia. Garza, excuse me, Garza. We just met this morning and had a wonderful 2-hour session. He has a wonderful testimony. And I definitely want him to share that. I'm trying to give him a platform more for that than his business. But he's got a testimony that you don't want to miss. So the first Wednesday after Labor Day, we will be back with another series of information on financial matters. Why? Because financials matter. All right. So on behalf of Brother Carlos, again, thank you for giving us 4 weeks of your time. We come on at 4:30. I was extremely late today. So blame TikTok and blame Alexa. It's them two got together and made my nap go longer than it was supposed to. But anyway, we'll be back that'll be about 2 weeks. I think it's about 2 or 3 weeks that we'll be back because man, August is already over. This is just crazy how this year is going by so fast. But we want to keep you informed. and keep you aware. And stay tuned. Come September, I'm giving you a spoiler alert. Come September or October, it might be October, the last quarter of the month, we're going to come up. We're going to be having a series called Politics Matter. Miss it because of everything that's going. Oh, you in Atlanta? Oh, okay. You're right. You're right across the street. Then you know I'm in Texas. I'm talking to Deidre.
Yeah. I
But
got family in Atlanta too.
yeah. So there's a whole lot of black folks that got some kind of money in Atlanta, other stuff too, but we won't talk about that on this show. But I'm really concerned about where we are as a people with the politics. And so we're going to have a series of conversations come October. I think it's going to be after my birthday, to really talk about preparation for the 2026 election.
Okay.
The only thing we need to be focused on, give you why we're doing this. The only thing we need to be focused on is registering to vote. That's it. And then with all the craziness of, closing polling booths and all that, and then we got to talk about mobilization. Once we do registration, then we got to talk about mobilization. You don't want to miss those conversations because it doesn't take a lot to take two people to the poll. It don't. You got a 4-passenger car, unless you got a Fiat or something like that. So you got at least 3 spaces to take somebody to the polls. And this election is the most important and crucial election that we have ever had in the history of elections because of the fool we got in office. Okay. So we have got to mobilize because we change votes. We change outcomes.
Sure.
And so we've got to use that now if we want to get control of the House, regain control of the House, and regain control of the Senate. And then we really got to hold them accountable. So we're not just talking about voting, we're talking about after too. Because we really got to do it for the next 2 years after that. We got to do it. We cannot let anybody slack up because we got 2 years to undo all this stupid stuff he's been doing. Okay, so you don't want to miss that. God put that on my heart to do that. So we're going to come up with politics matter along with financial matters. So all these matters that God got me doing. But again, thank y'all for popping in. We had 2 that were faithful, but we know the rebroadcast is going to be on YouTube. So please drive everybody to our YouTube channel, Clear Faith Christian Ministries. Subscribe. And all of that. We had 2 people that were watching live on YouTube. So it don't take a lot to spread information. I don't look at numbers. I just make sure that I'm on so that people can pop in. We had over 488 people pop in. And so even if they caught a word, it was enough hopefully to plant a seed because that's all we do. All right. So we are going to be done for the rest of August. Come back in September after Labor Day, and we'll be back with another series of financial matters. And then coming on the stage will be politics matter. Because why? Because politics really matter for what we're facing. Y'all can see the TV. So until next time, may God's richest and greatest blessings be yours. Peace.